I find it hard to believe that someone would be so good to leave all that money there and for the better of mankind and just actually write a program where like, hey, we can actually use this to transfer money and not get ripped off and then you think, well, maybe it's not a person, maybe it's a private corporation who's doing this, or if you're a conspiracy theorist, maybe it's the government.
Created live on Fireside.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Athletic Definition. I am your host, Coach Ray Z, and today we're going to be talking about how FTX collapse affects sports. I've been into the metaverse for quite some time. I did my first show on it about 9 months ago, Fitness in the Metaverse or something like that. Since then, I've done a few shows on it. And before I did a show on it, I had been learning about it at least for, I would say, maybe about a year and a half. So now I don't like to talk about things I don't understand or don't know. I'm no expert, but to me it's interesting because I definitely still see on the positive side that sports will be one of the things that makes NFTs and the whole Web3 popular. It's still popular. As far as I know, Top Shots isn't affected, or Rainmakers, which is by uh, what is it? DraftKings isn't affected as of now. But everything we'll see what happens. But they're run a completely different way. But a lot of athletes got affected by this, and arenas got affected by it, and it's all by some guy, which we'll get into a little bit later if you don't know too much about it. But basically, the future is advancing rapidly with technology, and I do like sports tech. I like technology. I'm not uh, getting all the newest tech all the time. I mean, I still have the old Apple Series 3. I think they're up to, I don't know, even know what they're up to. I did a review on it, but I forget because there's so much new stuff constantly coming out, new watches, new technology. And I do shows on fitness technology, new equipment. And I've done shows on how the metaverse will be different, how gyms will be different in the future, how you'll start getting NFT memberships and they'll come with more uses than other types of memberships than your traditional membership. And some of the, I guess, the biggest stars that were caught up in as far as investors, stakeholders, and ambassadors in this FTX fiasco is Tom Brady, who I was looking into how much he was worth, and his wife, ex-wife at the time, Giselle, supermodel, and roughly different sources say different things, but the highest one I found said 733 million, and that she was worth actually more than him, 4 million, and he is like 333 million. Now, this is prior to their divorce. That was combined. After their divorce, it seemed like the number went down to like 650. Maybe the lawyers get 83 million. I don't know. And then from there, uh, he was a major stakeholder. He did commercials, and Giselle did the commercials with him as well. I've seen some reports where they lost $650 million, which I cannot. This is all speculation. This is all for entertainment. I'm not a financial advisor, lawyer. I'm just kind of into it. So from what I've heard and read, this is what I'm hearing. And I don't know how much they lost, but they definitely lost big. Another sports star that did a commercial for it was Shaquille O'Neal, and his commercial was pretty funny. Actually, it was kind of like, if you guys don't remember it, he was kind of like blurred out, like he was like under the witness protection program, and they did it in the dark, and it was like just silhouettes of him. But then they show him DJing, and you can clearly tell it's like a 7'2" Shaquille O'Neal. And at the end, he knocks over the lamp, and you can see Shaq. And then so he comes on as an ambassador and as an investor. I don't know how much he lost, but the reports say he lost millions, as well as former champion and current NBA player Stephen Curry. He did commercials for him as well. And besides commercials, I know he was an investor. article said they probably lost tens of millions. I guess as time goes on, maybe we'll find out. Everything's still so fresh, so we don't really know how much they lost. And then also, I think a baseball player, last name Ortiz, tennis star, some other notable names that got caught up as investors. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, as I mentioned, Naomi, the tennis star. In Major League Baseball, the umpires wore their patch FTX on their shirts. So the involvement with baseball. I think I was reading that basically he was giving away so much money to help other companies that these companies got affected. So some of the companies that are going to go bankrupt because he filed for bankruptcy or the company filed for bankruptcy, FTX. I think I read the Phoenix Suns were investors in one of them. So there's a possibility they lost some money. I was just reading, I think last week about Odell Beckham, how I remember he signed that Bitcoin deal. So the whole kind of crypto market is tanked. And if you've noticed, all the past shows that I've done, they're about like NFT and fitness and in like the metaverse, not talking finance, but this involves so much finance and sports. And one of the reasons also is that I'm not really into the whole cryptocurrency of the whole new Web3. I think it's too young and I could see the greedy people and I'll get more into that. But I've never really been into the whole finance part of it because I see a bunch of holes and I'll explain what I mean. And as I mentioned, this is all just my opinion. This is not financial advice. And one of basically the number one picks, what's his name? I think Caden Cummings. He basically, what he did is he signed his whole signing bonus in Bitcoin. And at the time, Bitcoin was trading between 30,000 to 60,000. So it was an all time high. Now, the company that he signed the signing bonus with is BlockFi, and they filed bankruptcy because of FX filing bankruptcy. And so it's going to be a trickle down effect. Now, I don't know what'll happen to his bonus or if he'll even get any bonus. I don't know how much old Beckham lost or will lose because he took his payment in Bitcoin. And as I said, the whole crypto kind of market just basically tanked. And as it is, they're saying it's like the bear winter for crypto. So it's interesting. Now, one of the other names that I don't think most people have heard yet is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, according to an article I read, that he has a NFT collection and it's called Six Rings NFT. And let's see here, I think it basically dropped the value by mid-November, which he launched it, I believe, earlier this year. So it's a collection that he dropped in March of 2022. It's 5,000 non-fungible tokens available to buy. The collection was launched on Solana, and Solana is base platform Hare and Magic Eden. The Solana network backed by Alameda Research, which is part of FTX. They're in the mix. So Alameda Research files for bankruptcy, and then a crypto trading firm affiliated with FTX that is being wounded down also crashed after the collapse. So the native token of the network sold dropped 25% in the past 3 weeks, I think, or in the past week, So basically, that hammered Jordan's value of his NFT collection, which was an average of 16.99 sold, but the price of Solana dropped dramatically, resulting in a net loss of 92%. So now, even depending on what blockchain you built your NFT collection, basically right now the NFT collections are tanking, the sport ones, it seems. On to Top Shots, I haven't bought any moments from them. I do the NFL one. I haven't bought an NFL moment. What I am doing, and I did a past show, and I will do one because I haven't brought you guys up to speed on how it's going with my Rainmaker NFT fantasy football. I've got the hang of it more. It's more fun. It's I still I have no interest in playing a DraftKings like regular fantasy football. I like my traditional fantasy football that I play in my league, and I know the guys, and we've been playing for together for geez, I think like 30 years. So the camaraderie and the shit talking, and it's fun, and then the whole rivalries, and after playing each other for so long, I would rather play with people I know than to play in like a massive pool where in the past before uh, I'm not saying that they're still doing it, but in the past it seemed them and I think FanDuel got caught up where they were letting I think their employees bet, so the employees had an inside position and they were winning a lot, so they ended up getting sued, and then since then they stopped it, but now they have the Rainmakers NFT, which at first it took me a little while to get used to it. I like it. I enjoy it. I'll do a whole show on the the DraftKings Rainmakers NFT. As far as I know, that value is based on the performance of the player and then what people are willing to pay for it. And then they sell packs, like individual packs, so you can buy your pack, and then from there you could play with your player, and you can sit them down, bench them, sell them, resell them. I've listed my first three NFT Rainmaker NFTs on DraftKings because you can only sell them there to other people. And I think one's like $1, the other one's like you could sell it for more, but no one's gonna buy. You put it for what the other people are kind of listing it. The market kind of decides, and then based on the player's performance. So I don't really see how that would get affected too much, if at all. DraftKings, as far as I know, they're not invested or would lose any money. But from what I heard, and I am not a lawyer, once again, I heard that the endorsements, if the players still have it, or I don't know how they would do it, that they took from FTX, that they would have to pay it back. Now, the government received an estimated, the Democratic Party received an estimated $40 million from donations from Sam. I wonder if they're going to have to give it back, and who would they give it back to, and who would the money that the players give back to, who would it go when so many people lost? And then you have the whole arenas. Miami, in Miami, FTX, they purchased the naming rights to the Heat Arena last year for 19 years. So they were supposed to have their name FTX on the arena, I think, till 2040. And that cost them $135 million. The other big name is over here in Los Angeles, California. And right here, it went from Staples Center to the Crypto Arena, or crypto.com, and they paid $700 million. Doesn't say for how long, but it says, which is believed to be the largest in the United States history. Crypto.com, which is based in Singapore, is the fourth largest and biggest exchange in the world per Forbes. So, as I mentioned, who did it all this? I've seen this guy, Sam Bankman Fried, on interviews, and I don't really think he's charismatic like a lot of people are trying to say. Oh, he's so charismatic. For me to believe that he's so charismatic that he tricked all these people, senators, politicians, Mr. Wonderful, Shaquille O'Neal, I don't buy it. I saw one interview, and based on some of the tweets that he did and his CEO, looks like they like meth. Now, this is all allegedly, but one of them says, wake up to, and actually, I have the quote, but she also wrote that. Let me see here. So, to me, from what I looked into it, and this is all speculation, I can confirm some of it if you don't believe me, but looks like her dad had ties to MIT, the CEO, and they were kind of dating each other. It seems that there's like a group of 10 people that all have an open relationship. So these are all like the brilliant kids that met at MIT, because they were mostly his friends. His dad is a compliance lawyer. His mom is a compliance lawyer. So you would think, oh man, kid so bright, he's definitely going to do the right thing. I saw his brother was some sort of guy trying to protect us against the pandemic. So he was lobbying the government for like $30 million. His aunt is part of the, I think, WFO, and she is like a virologist, and they were all part. It's just so crazy how it just goes from sports to some people are talking about the Ukraine war, and it all just has to do with greed. We've seen this over and over again. From what I've learned, this technology is supposed to be to avoid all that. Some of these blockchains that I hear about, why can't they make it so that they're for the people, where let's make it public wallets for all government transactions, like where if it says funding's going to a school, funding's going to, whatever, some that we can actually see that it goes there, that it can't be cheated because it's being confirmed around, the other validators by the computer systems, where we don't need third parties who can corrupt the system. I think that's where I would like to see it. Maybe this is all happening because, the system sees it as a threat. And I love United States, and I think there is a lot of regulation and overstepping, but at the same time, if we could kind of start, maybe blame somehow the people that got upset, according to what I learned, Satoshi, what's his name? Satoshi, probably all the crypto heads are mad at me, but Satoshi is he invented Bitcoin. He is the guy who created it on a program called, I think, CC plus or C plus plus. And then he just kind of disappeared. And this is why I have a problem with cryptocurrency, because Bitcoin's supposed to be the strongest of them all. And I don't know enough, but if that's the strongest one of them all, and he, I think, still owns like 1 million coins, at some point, based on what Bitcoin's worth, he could just move that money and become the richest person in the world. And that's the most secure, but he has a lot of coins. I find it hard to believe that someone would be so good to leave all that money there, and for the better of mankind, and just actually write a program where, like, hey, we can actually use this to transfer money and not get ripped off. And then you think, well, maybe it's not a person, maybe it's a private corporation who's doing this, or if you're a conspiracy theorist, maybe it's the government. I don't really know, but I know that the technology is not going away. Just just November 6th, which was what, a couple days ago, LeBron James announced him, his son Bronny, and his other son. I think, actually, I saved the article. They just created, or just signed to $174 billion company, and I think it's called, like, oh, Lockverse. So they signed a deal with Lockverse. They are supposed to help athletes, emerging artists, uh, designers, brands. The interesting about this is one of the major investors is Disney. And even though, like, as far as like crypto's crashing, and there's a lot of companies that will probably still fall. Genesis just froze all the assets, and there's all these strange movements, like crypto.com accidentally moving $400 million into another account. We'll see as everything and regulation starts to set in. I would really like the regulation to be done, because you can't have the wild wild west, but at the same time, certain things should be private. As a consumer, you have the right for privacy, but then as a public servant, if you're going to be representing the people, I think that all the money should be visible of where it's being used and where it's going to. That way we can't have like millions of dollars missing from, I don't know, the Pentagon. Like right after 9/11, there was all this money missing. And so we could have a blockchain that executes all the transactions, and that will actually, when the government says, hey, this went for education, hey, this went for hospitals, we know that it can't be scammed. Because right now it's like all these companies and sports stars that I see, a lot of people are blaming the athletes. The athletes are making commercials, they have a big following. But then some of the big names, some of the big investors, like Mr. Wonderful, is talking about, I did my due diligence. How much due diligence did you do? Did all these people do? It seemed like because he donated so much money to the government, to the Democratic Party, that he was getting like preferential treatment. He's not even in jail. He's able to tweet. I heard he has a $30 million mansion in the Bahamas, and he's under surveillance. If I were to cause that much money without donating to the Republican Democratic Party, because the transactions that I saw, not necessarily him, but some of his entities, I think even his brother, they were donating to both parties from what I saw. It's all interesting. It's all going to just keep opening up, and we'll see what happens with it. As I mentioned, LeBron James doing his new deal with that company and for his sons. I don't see the technology going away. I don't see athletes stop using it. It's definitely going to hurt the whole space, the whole metaverse, NFT, cryptocurrency movement. It's definitely going to make more people not even want to get involved or learn about it. But if you don't learn about it and don't get involved, then if you've ever seen where someone is making fun of their mom, or you know someone that doesn't know how to write an email or even how to sign up for an app, and you made fun of them, that's how it's going to be in like 10 years from now, when everything is blockchain and NFT and people are making fun of you because you didn't want to learn about it because it's something you weren't into. Some of the things we have to do for are better, because the technology, as I mentioned, is not going to go away. It could be used for a lot of beneficial things, as far as like for fitness. Some of the things that I saw, it's like it tracks how many shots you took, how many bad shots you took, how many were with good form, how it could keep track of your workouts, as far as how many push-ups, everything automatically without you actually having to write it down. How much more efficient you could be, how your form is going. It's gonna be good, and then it's gonna be bad also as well, because people will be in the metaverse all the time, just lounging. It depends on as the generations keep going, if they feel comfortable just being in the metaverse right now. Right now, the metaverse, from what I hear, I don't have the VR glasses, but pretty much I hear is majority males, and they kind of freak out when there's any females around. And that's from the females that I know that actually have VR glasses and go into VR places. And some of the things that you read as well, like one girl says she got violated in VR, and that's a whole different thing. But the whole technology, the whole being able to put on your VR glasses, and then with AR as it starts to mix in, and being able to feel like you're at a basketball game front row and watch it in that perspective, or a UFC fight or a boxing fight, where you can change a perspective just based on, getting up and changing from a seat in your living room. So now, instead of, being on the left side of the ring, or the during halftime when your team changes where they're going to score, then you can change with them, or change to the 50-yard line. I mean, there's so many cool things about it, but then there's a bunch of things where I I see them trying to replace the actual thing. Like, wouldn't it be great to just wake up and work out on a mountain? I'm like, yeah, it's better to get up and go, get in your car, or if you live by a mountain, run to the mountain and then hike it or run it. I would much, much rather do the real thing than the replica. As the technology gets better, it'll be more realistic and better. And then I think people will start to do it. And then that's where we'll be. I don't know how many years it'll take for us to be in the metaverse more than in this reality. But to me, it's fascinating. I'll keep you guys updated on I'll do a special show called Rainmakers T Fantasy Football and get you guys updated. It's been about 5 weeks of me playing that now. It's pretty fun. Now that I get the hang of it, I'll give you my opinion of what you can do to build your teams and some of the drops that they're continuously having NFT drops. Some of them are affordable, some of them are expensive. They have a Christmas one coming out where the the NFT you get is you see the player and then the background will be either an ugly sweater or like a Christmas background. $200 for that, and you get 5 NFT cards. You don't know who they're gonna be, and then after that, you get some like special airdrops, things like that. But to me, that is way too steep for NFTs. As it is, I think I have about, let's see, I have enough to do 2 to 3 NFT lineups at the same time, meaning your lineups could be minimum is 4 players. So you need to have a quarterback, a wide receiver, a running back, and usually a flex. And then you can do the deep ones where you need a kicker, you need a defensive player, you need, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, uh, a flex player. I think they want you on that one to have maybe 2 wide receivers. So I've done that. So if I do a 9 player lineup, and then I still have enough to do another 9 player lineup. Just depends. Right now with buys and stuff, and then whether you're better off buying packages or buying your cards individually on the market, I'll let you guys know that as well. And then I kind of give you a little bit of insight on the prices in the market, and it's you're not going to get rich. I put up my cards and still no one's bought them. They're like $1, $2, but it's all based on the demand. If you think you're going to get rich, it's possible because you can still go and see places where are offering you very good returns. But what does the saying say, or how does the saying go? A fool and his money will soon be parted. Working at the bank for 10 years, as I mentioned, I'm not a financial advisor. I got a GED. You shouldn't listen to me for financial advice. But I worked up my way to treasury management at the bank, 10 years doing that. And I was working with the wire system, which is basically like the SWIFT system that they talk about, ACH. I was helping companies with that. Then they decided to, hey, you're going to learn international banking and we're not going to pay you more for it. We're just going to eliminate that department, give you about, I don't know, maybe an hour's training, and then you're going to get calls and start helping people on different exchange rates and different things and procedures. I'm like, oh, that sucks. So, you do what you got to do unless you want to quit that day. In those systems, a lot of ways where you can definitely make errors, and they're archaic basically. And I, I question why we were still using some of those. Now that I started looking into the how to do coding and programming, I have a better understanding of why we're using those, but they're still archaic to compared to what some of the new technology can do and how quickly it is and how we can eliminate these third parties and these entities that, I mean, I hated my whole experience there. It was horrible. I've worked for a call center. When I worked in Vegas, I was working in Vegas for like half a year. I was doing sports betting. I was working in the Vegas casinos. But before getting that job, I took a job at a call center, and I quit like the second day because I could right away tell that they were scamming people. They were just ripping people off, and I'm like, this isn't the way I want to make my money. Uh, but the first couple of days of training, it was good because they taught us about how at the time the Google marketing worked and how they would charge people and the spiders of the internet. And so I learned about that. But I'd be in Vegas and I'd be calling people telling them I'm in Indianapolis, and then the next call I'd have to tell them that I'm in a different state, and everything that the script that they gave us was a lie. So I'm like, I can't do this. So then I left doing that. And then when I got a job at the call center for the bank, it was like almost the same thing. It was like pretty horrible. Like, in my opinion, it wasn't about helping the customer. It was really about selling them a product when you could see their savings and checking account didn't even have the money to have money in the savings account or avoid the overdraft fee that you charge them because supposedly your system can't show pending transactions, which I had to explain that over and over about 80 to 100 times a day. Try to explain it to people when they're like, well, Mother Bank doesn't do that. Mother Bank shows this transaction. And I'm like, my smartphone can do this. And you're telling me that you are one of the most powerful banks and you can't do this? Then you get sued, lose all kinds of money. And I'm like, I can't do this. And then I see all this new technology, and it's supposed to be have been built because in 2008, the whole bubble with a mortgage, and this guy thought, hey, the system is broken, so he built this program. And I'm like, oh, that's very cool, but I'm also realistic. There's no way that the government's gonna let some system come out and just destroy our banking system. But it's also my hope that it'll help improve the banking system, where they just can't try and tell you, oh, well, we can't even see what's impending, or it takes this long for the transaction to post. And regardless whether it's cryptocurrency, in my opinion, or whether it's a wire transfer or an ACH, you're always going to get scammers. You're always going to get scammed if you're going to be gullible and let yourself be scammed, because, or if you think you're too smart and too good, or just get lazy and don't want to do simple things like verify who you're talking to, verify that email, verify that it actually comes from who it says, especially when they're asking for large money. All the time I'd get a call at the bank. I'm going to send a wire internationally. Okay. How much? Can you help me raise the limits? Sure. Have you verified with the person who sent you the email? No. Well, I'm getting a different code or a different something. You should check with them before sending it. No, no, I just want to send it. I'm like, you don't understand that wires you just can't get back. ACHs have different rules. ACH is what most people call direct deposit. So there's rules and laws and regulations to get your money back if you send it in error. But even then, I had one lady who she would do it in Nacha, which is like a format. It's just a format. And I think, in my opinion, like when they send out all the checks accidentally to people for the unemployment benefits during the whole pandemic, the reason is when, if you're just doing a banking for like a couple people, that's not a problem to keep track of. But when you're sending out tens and thousands, like if you're doing a payroll for Google, PayPal, large companies like that, you need to do the payroll all at the same time. So you do usually Nacha, and they don't want to verify. They make a mistake. They think they know it all, and they sent $1 million to the wrong account. And I had to help them. I helped them get it back. But there's always going to be human error, is what I'm saying. So it doesn't, unless there's some sort of technology that's going to prevent human error, human laziness, human cockiness, human just, I'm having a bad day at work, so I'm not going to check this. Or companies that are too cheap to pay employees a good salary to make them want to stay there, so they don't have to be training their representatives on how to use ACH systems right away when they have no clue what's going on. So the turnover at work, because the companies don't want to pay, because they have to deliver depending, you know, the bank I worked for, majority owner was Warren Buffett, still is. He never once came to the bank. He never once saw the operations. He says he never invests in something he doesn't understand. So, my opinion, did you know about all these accounts? Because the math doesn't add up. Certain numbers are unachievable to keep hitting over and over unless there's some sort of fraud going on. It's a Ponzi scheme. He also owns Brooks, the running shoe. And I met some of the representatives because I'm a big marathoner. In case you don't know, 57 marathons completed. So I met some of the representatives at a running club, and they were there demonstrating their shoes. And they're like, I'm talking to them. And then they're like, "Oh, I met Warren Buffett." I'm like, "Oh, you did? Yeah, he came to our company." So he went to Brooks, and which it's cool, happy for them. I would have liked to meet Warren Buffett, but he never came to the bank once in ten years that I worked there. So if he doesn't invest in something he doesn't understand, then did he understand that those numbers were not sustainable, and that's why they got sued? And so I have so many questions about the banking system, some of the things that they say, and it's my perspective from working inside. Some of the things that I did was help a lot of people get paid, basically because stores need change orders, or, as I mentioned, wires, ACHs, and locking yourself out of the computer, and on and on and on. So by helping that, I'm helping America get paid. That's like people's best part of the job is when you get that paycheck. If that's the way you earn your money. If you're an entrepreneur, whole different story. But there's ways where people could get paid daily. There's systems where they could get it done like that. Those are just some of the benefits, because some people, they don't need money every 2 weeks. They need money more often. With inflation, that a lot of it is like caused to try and bring down the things that have been caused by them, by the government, and so they have to do things to, or by insiders, or by just greed all around, like during the whole mortgage economic thing. That I trapped real estate at that time, and nobody wanted to do a deal with me because everybody, well, one, I didn't really have too much experience, so I understand that part, but everybody was giving them lower interest rates, meaning that's a fraudulent loan, but you'd rather take that because you want to save more money, which I understand, but in the long run, it caused a bubble, and then the bubbles will keep happening until, in my opinion, something like a good blockchain, a good program where no one can hack and it's all done automatically, can be used for the people, not to not have government, but so that the government can actually work for the people. And in the long run, that'll be better for the people, the country, all countries, everywhere, because that's what you're seeing pretty much everywhere. So thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Coach Ray Z. I hope you enjoyed how FTX impacts sports and everything else. And as we go along, as I mentioned, I still believe in it. So I also bought me quite a few NFT websites. So if you are interested in getting an NFT website, you can click on the link. It's Unstoppable Domains, and you can get, I think, 10% off, or I forget how much you can get off on a domain that's $40 or more. Traditional websites, you lease your name, and then you still have to have a host. So just for example, maybe you'll pay, like, say, $12 a year for a website. You could buy an NFT website for $20 one time, and it's yours forever. It's on the blockchain. There's no renewal fees. Every time they keep adding new features, someone could just transfer money to you through your domain instead of having to give them a long crypto address wallet. So, for example, if some people are just done with what's going on in the whole crypto community and you want to get rid of your cryptocurrency, you could send it to Coach Ray blockchain, and I can accept any currency, and then my domain will separate it and put into each wallet depending on the currency. Not only that, but they just added subdomains, reverse lookup, and they just keep adding more stuff and more stuff. And you can build an actual website. And now with the Brave, I did it on Google Chrome and on Brave. And I have no coding experience, but learning this all myself, I created websites where if you go and type them in, like if you go type in, Coach Ray Z blockchain, you'll see my website. Or Mary Fitness is .nft. I have that up. So if you check that out, if your browser's set up, if you use Brave, you'll see what I'm talking about. The holidays are coming, so my third year doing it, can't believe it, of Merry Fitness, where I give you a fitness tip of the day and some Christmas puns, spreading the joy of the holidays to you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name's Coach Ray Z. I will see you next time on Athletic Definition.